All right, welcome to our study today of Immanuel God with us. Let's go and dive into exactly what we're talking about today. This is the start of the book of Matthew, Matthew chapter 1, verse 1. So I won't be reading all of it, but I'm encouraging you to go and read verse 1 through verse 17. And this is a genealogy about Jesus that goes up to 14 generations prior to him. So you will be able to, actually 28 generations. You'll be able to read all of them and see exactly who came before him. But let's jump into verse 18. Verse 18, this is where we get a little bit of an introduction about the birth of Christ, right? About the birth of Christ. Mary was engaged to Joseph, and then what happened in verse 19? It says, "Then Joseph, her husband, being a just man, and not wanting to make her public example, was minded to put her away secretly." So Mary was found with a child by the Holy Spirit, and then Joseph was like, "Hey, I'm going to put her away, so we're going to separate secretly. So I'm not gonna make a big mess out of this," which he had the choice to do, but he wanted instead to preserve her and make this in a very secretive way, not publicly. However, while Joseph was sleeping, an angel came to him and told him, "Joseph, son of David, do not be afraid to take you Mary your wife, for that which is conceived in her is of the Holy Spirit." So God sent him a message to let him know, "Hey, this is of the Holy Spirit what is being done. So do not be afraid to continue in that relationship with her." Right? So therefore, this is how Jesus was about to be born, and the angel also told what the name that Jesus should be named. He should be named. The baby should be named Jesus. I'm sorry, right? Because he will save his people from their sins. Now, why all of this was being done? It's because it was already predicted, it was already prophesied way before that happened, right? In verse 22, it says, "So all this was done that it might be fulfilled, which was spoken by the Lord through the prophet, saying, Behold, the virgin shall be with child and bear a son, and they shall call his name Immanuel," which is translated God with us. Okay, so this is where we get to understand what God is doing. The birth of Christ isn't just a normal birth, but it is to accomplish a prophecy that was there, that God has already sent a prophecy that this was going to happen, and now it was time for it to happen. And then continue into that same passage 24-25. We see that Joseph got up from his sleep, and he did exactly as God commanded him, right? So this is someone who has a relationship with God, who understands when God is speaking, and who moves based on what God is saying, right? Based on what God is saying. So Joseph had a dream, and God told him, "This is the situation, this is what's happening, and this is your next step," right? This is your next step. And Joseph did exactly as God said. Now, if you want to read in Isaiah chapter 7, you will see the prophecy announcing the birth of the Messiah, how the Messiah was going to be born, so that you can have an understanding of what's happening in this passage here. So Joseph took Mary as his wife, and then raised up the child and called him Jesus, just like the angel has told him in the dream. So there we have it. The Messiah is born, Immanuel, God with us. So what is next? We're going to discover that in the next video.